That's Ken. That's not our vice president, but he's just as handsome as the vice president. How about that?
No, he's not.
Oh,
No, I'm better looking.
whoa! Now here goes the vice president.
But this reminds us that when we visit foreign countries, we have to follow the rules and their laws. And for us, coming from the United States, a lot of times it's a shock of the cultures, but we have to respect those cultures.
Absolutely.
We're visitors, and it happens to all of us. And then when you come back, you have to adapt. It's sort of, you have to rekindle that relationship that you have.
Veterans Day, I've said this. Veterans Day is all month. Veterans Day is not, for me, it's not just
Veterans
a
Day is
Veterans
every day.
Every day. But yeah, I'll take that. Good afternoon and welcome to a very special day, a very special podcast. Today is our recognition and celebration of Veterans Day. I am Dr. Maya Burt-Stewart. I want to, as always, thank you all, our listening and our viewing audience, for tuning in, for thinking enough of AU Studios that you would chime in with us, and particularly today. We've got some really awesome people in the studio today as we recognize veterans, as we recognize Veterans Day. I'm going to give a small caveat, make a speech beforehand. You'll probably hear some things in this podcast that many of you don't understand. Like, I've got a good colleague that's here from the Marines, and although I'm sorry to hear that, it's still, we allow and we celebrate. And that's our opening for today, to pull your legs. Again, thank you all for coming. We've got an awesome podcast schedule today. We've got some awesome people here in the studios. Our very own alumni will be chiming in with us via Zoom, as well as veterans that also are part of Atlantis University and AU Studios will be chiming in today. So without further ado, I am Dr. Maya Burt-Stewart, and again, you all should recognize the face, and if not, I am a part of AU Studios, a regular part of AU Studios, as well as Atlantis University. And then also in the studios with us today, we've got our Vice President of Atlantis University, who's a Marine veteran, Mr. Juan Cruz Torres, and we have with us another veteran, Air Force veteran, Mr. Ken Kissner, who's with the compliance department here at Atlantis University. And then on Zoom with us, we've got in the studios Mr. Ivan Suarez, who is an Army veteran, raised the roof, and we've got Miss Darlene Martinez, who's also an Army veteran, and they both serve as a part of Atlantis University alumni. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Welcome to AU Studios. Darlene and Ivan, welcome. And so we will, this will be just a quick podcast, something we're throwing together, but we want to just celebrate and recognize Veterans Day. We want to kind of come together as a family, small family, but a family, and just kind of talk, briefly amongst each other, and share some experiences. And so, hopefully this podcast will go out to the communities, but certainly the veteran community, and it'll give, make them laugh, right? It'll cause them to go down, take a stroll down memory lane. And so, gentlemen, how do we start this? If you'll notice to our right here, we've got some pics on the screen. Is this a icebreaker or what?
Bring back lots of memories.
God, I was so young.
We've got here in the lower, if you're looking at this from the front, we've got in the lower left corner over here, Mr. Ken Kissner, Air Force veteran, looks about maybe 19, 20?
I think 19.
Yeah. And so then if you look in the center, That's also Mr. Ken Kistner. And this is this a picture during the Vietnam War, Ken? Or
It's in Thailand, but part of the
in
Vietnam
Thailand?
War.
Okay. And then if you look just up above the center picture, you've got to the left a young lady who is sitting on her duff. I'm not sure why. But if you look to the right, you've got the same young lady who's armed and ready to go. And that, of course, that young lady is me. And then we've got a picture of our very own Vice President, don't we, Mr. Engineer?
No, that's me again.
That's Ken. That's not our Vice President, but he's just as handsome as the Vice President. How about that?
No, he's not.
Oh,
No, I'm better looking.
whoa! Now here goes the Vice President. Now there's no way this guy is in the military. We need a military picture. Don't be giving us this fluff up here, Mr. Engineer. Wow, what awesome photos! And so this is Mr. Juan Cruz Torres as a young man.
Incredible, right?
Incredible.
Time passes so fast.
Incredible. If it were not for the uniform, I would never believe that was you. Yeah. Awesome, though. Really awesome. And so we don't have any photos of our, oh God. Who is that? Oh my God. Let me share something if I can real quick. If you all notice this picture down here to the right where my hand is showing, kind of profiling the picture, that sign is a sign that says entrance, women only. And so that's a picture in Saudi Arabia during the Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm. That is a bus, and that bus is actually the back of the bus where I am highlighting and showing that this section of the bus, only women are able to sit. And so, it reminds you of a whole lot of things. You think about
So you were privileged, right?
I listen. I was absolutely privileged. Yeah, in
Get the back of the
comparison.
bus.
In
Terrible.
comparison,
Terrible.
that was for the Saudi women. They had to have their head covered, their bodies covered, and they could only walk, in a certain way. They could only walk in certain. And at certain times, the husband, typically had to be present. They could only, sit in certain places. So,
But this reminds us that when we visit foreign countries, we have to follow the rules and their laws. And for us, coming from the United States, a lot of times it's a shock of the cultures, but we have to respect those cultures. We're visitors, and it happens to all of us. I also want to remind everybody, we have representatives from the Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, but we also have our Navy, which is not here today. It's one of our sister armed forces, and also our Coast Guard. And so a shout out to all of them, even if they're not here. Obviously, that's those are our brothers in arms. So
absolutely. And so I was saying we don't have pictures of Ivan and of Darlene, but we definitely want to give them an opportunity to, chime in, guys. So Darlene, you were a part of which conflict? We don't call them wars. So let's make sure we let the non-military folk know. We don't call them wars. They're called conflicts. And so your conflict, Darlene, was which one?
Iraq Freedom.
Operation Iraq Freedom. And Ivan, your conflict was?
Kosovo, Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom, and Afghanistan.
Wow. And so you stayed busy. Basically, Ivan stayed busy. And so tell us a little about your experiences, guys. So what was it like, Darlene, what was it like being a female or a woman at war?
It was kind of tough, especially because in the Army, we have to prove that we can do everything that a male can do. So it was like a double for us, especially Latinas. We had to prove that we can deal with the language besides the Army. And it was kind of a great experience for me. I was at airborne delivery from 92 Yankee Supply, especially for the mobile hospital, 47 cash. And it was very nice to travel a lot, and especially to do the airborne part.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
It was a great great experience. I love it. If it wasn't for my accident, then I would probably be in.
Still be in. And so Darlene said something that's really interesting. You said that, being a woman and especially being Latina. Now, and I definitely believe you and support you, but I think all the women, we say that, right? I think black women say that, right? I think my Asian sister said that. I think for women, it's just women. I think that all of us, all races, all nationalities, I think we just have a tougher time because you said it, Darlene, proving that, we can, take the language, proving that, we can take the punches and we can continue, to roll. And so I think that, when you talk about groups, women, I think we did a good job of supporting each other, but unknowingly, right? Because we can't do that kumbaya stuff in the military, right? We're soldiers, and so you all don't put up with any of that. It's like one military, one unity. And so, but I like that you said that, Darlene, because as a female, it was tough. I shared with us off screen before we came on camera the fact that I felt bad for families that experienced. And so I know Ivan did have a family when he was there. So did Darlene. Juan, did you have a family when you were at war? Ken, did you have a family? Did you all have wife and kids when you were at war?
Not when I first went in. I got married later on, and so I was in England after that point.
But did you have a family while you were at war, during the Vietnam War?
No.
No. Juan, did you have a family during the war?
Before, but I spent an entire year overseas without a family. And so that's one of the toughest things to overcome, and it's a huge burden on the dependents because they're the ones who have to run the household and do all the stuff. And then when you come back, you have to adapt. It's sort of, you have to rekindle that relationship that you have because you've been away for as long as you have. So that's one of the toughest things for families in the military. And you always kind of, you're in your mission, but at the same time, you're always thinking about your family back home.
Ivan, you had a family when you were were deployed so many times. So, good Lord, what was that like on your family?
Tough. What made it better was always calling and staying in touch and trying to maintain the communication, maintain the openness.
Sure.
And when you get back, it's that trying to reinsert yourself into the environment, into back with your kids and everything. My son didn't recognize me after our deployment.
Wow.
And it took almost a month for him to kind of
warm back up to you. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
wow.
It's I don't want to say it's painful, but it's very difficult to kind of realize that your own kid doesn't even recognize you as their parent.
Wow.
And you're sitting there going, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
Wow. I swear to you, my heart went out to families while I was there. I remember, you had mothers that were there crying. They would come back from talking to their children, and the children were having a difficult time. So, of course, that causes you to have a difficult time. So those were some of our darkest times. But some of our better times, anybody want to chime in? What were some of the happier times? What were some of the things that you were just most proud about, being there? The relationships, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. I grew.
For me, it was friendships. I wound up, like when I finally got married, my best man was from somebody I had served with.
Okay.
And, we still maintain that relationship.
Sure.
I think that when you leave the service, I spent 20 years active duty. So when you leave the service, that camaraderie that you build around the people is probably the thing that you miss the most.
Mm-hmm.
You don't miss getting early in the morning and doing all the stuff, although I missed part of it. But the camaraderie, your friendship with your friends, and then, once you depart, a lot of times you don't get to see them again. Many of them, they spread out throughout the country and they go back home. And sometimes, especially now, it's easier because of technology to keep in touch with them. But back then, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
I remember, when I was overseas, I will remember the cassette tapes.
Yes, that's what we did.
We used to sit there and record and send them home.
Video and send them home.
But I do have to say that, when we volunteer for the service.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous opportunity for all of us. We know, what's ahead of us, because none of us are foolish and understand, what's going to happen when we're called upon serving. And I had 20 years that I wouldn't change for anything. And I enjoyed every bit of it. I competed, in sports and marathons, and I went all over the place, and I love it to this day, and I missed it every single day. And so my experience was different, because unfortunately they have to serve in a combat environment, and they have to go through a lot of difficulties. But, in essence, one of the most difficult decisions I had to make was when I was getting ready to get out of the service. It was really, really difficult, because I knew, I was 19 when I went into the service. I spent 20 years, so more than half of my life I had spent in the military, and it's very, emotional for you to leave that environment, to leave your friends and start all over.
It felt like it was very different. I felt empty for a very long time when I came out. I felt empty for a very long time.
Did you ever went to the closet and begin to grab your uniform?
Almost. It's like withdrawals.
You went to the office and grabbed it.
Ivan and Darlene, if you have the same experience, Ken, it's like withdrawals. It's like, oh my God.
For me, it was a case of, for me, the military was a case of really, I grew up. I had to grow up.
Okay.
I was from the Northeast and everything, and I was a spoiled, rotten kid. And we had the draft at that point.
So you were part of the draft?
Oh yeah, it was a case of either, and I was in college, and it was a case of if you were getting bad grades at that point, when you joined Vietnam, they would draft you out.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was a case of, what am I going to do? So I said, I'm not going to go ground pounding. Because my brother was a Marine.
Okay.
And so I elected to go Air Force. And so I wound up growing up and learning about, regimenting myself, becoming more reliant about everything and being independent of everything that's going on.
Sure.
And so I actually wound up, and I really, really appreciate the military, was to be able to get my degrees while I was in service.
Yes.
So that was a benefit for me. And I wound up eventually going from active duty, from over 13 plus years of active duty, I just started finding myself a position in the reserves. Okay. And so when I stayed, total active federal military service state, 38 and a half years.
Wow, that's
awesome.
a very long.
Active duty in reserves.
Darlene, Ivan, what was your experience upon leaving, upon ETSing?
For me, it was really hard. That was my dream since I was in high school, to become a soldier. So when I actually did it, having that bad experience of my accident and getting withdrawal, then that was really hard. I'm still in the process. I still think about it a lot, dream about my uniform.
Dream about it. She dreams about the uniform.
Listen, so that
And I think a month later, when I got out, I went back to the recruitment center and I told them I want to get back.
Oh, wow.
And they told me, oh no, 100% we go home.
Ivan, what did it feel like to you?
When it was my turn to get out, and it wasn't because I wanted to get out, I ended up getting medical retirement because of the injuries I sustained.
Wow.
It's funny, they say that you're leaving the military, but you never really leave.
No.
Stay with you. Stay within
We're
you.
always a soldier. Yeah. Once a soldier, always a soldier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And which brings to a point that I wanted to bring up, I always hear this, and people always say, thank you for serving. I go, no, it's me to say thank you, because it's a privilege to be able to be that singularity or be that small entity that is allowed to step forward and be that for the country.
Yeah. Well said.
People always thank us and thank us for our service, but I personally, I say no, but thank you for allowing me.
Yeah. Awesome,
because
Ivan.
it's an opportunity, and it's basically a blessing that we are able to go and do it. Some gave the ultimate sacrifice, and some didn't. It wasn't their time. But when I transitioned, I was the 15. I was a group of 15 that were left out of the 136 that went.
Wow.
And my retirement, my forced retirement, was because of the amount of sustained injuries, time we spent. We spent almost 19 and a half months, no R&R, no vacation, all the whole time in heavy combat zones, looking for explosives and dealing with explosives.
Wow.
So when we transitioned, all I knew was, the uniform.
Yeah.
It took us a year to really kind of
do you still have
myself, regain myself an ability to kind of transition back in. And what really helped me was going back to school.
Well, I'm glad that you can be a part of that equation. Thank you.
What really got me back into the civilian lifestyle and to get into that mentality and get into that transition was go to school.
Yeah.
Just go to school and just start to blend in and start to be part of it.
Rebuild.
To this day, I still haven't 100% recovered. Like Darlene said, you never really leave and you never really stop thinking. It just, you have your moments, your moments of clarity. And that's how I feel about it. I still have my situations and problems that I'm still dealing with, but you have clarity, and that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you still have your uniform in your closet all hanging out, impressed?
Actually, I have my uniforms pressed and on the wall on display.
Okay, on the wall.
Mine's. Listen, it's been years.
My cookie, my chocolate chip cookies, my ACUs, and also my DCUs, pressed, folded, nice and pretty on display with all my work and my
Die Hard. My God.
Mine's are still hanging, pressed with all the medals, ribbons, and everything in there in my closet. No question. They're sitting there.
My mess dress is hung up in the closet.
Okay.
But everything else is folded in a storage locker.
Okay.
I still got my sabers and Stetton.
So let me say this, because I want to chime now, and Ivan said it, when you talk about, it kind of reminds me of JFK when he says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And so Ivan says, listen, don't thank me for my service, let me thank you. And Juan, you even have said, listen, when we sign up, we know what we're in for. We know what this is about. Now, with that being said, let me say this. I never in a million years imagined I would go to war. I never in a million years imagined that I could go to war. I never saw that coming. I never pictured it. It was never part of the equation. I went into the military to go to law school. And so now in hindsight, what you all are saying, I feel 1,000% the same way that Ivan feels and the way you feel. I echo that. But I never
I think that's just our frame of mind, because when we went through our training, men or women, every Marine is a basic infantry man or women. And so we're all trained to combat. And so for us, it was just a matter of whenever you call, you go. Well,
the training was there, Army, but the mental. I guess because I had my heart set on being a lawyer, I didn't think about no war.
It surprised you.
I just wanted, yeah.
Ready or not.
I guess because all I could eat and dream and think about was being a lawyer for the military. I never saw war coming. I embraced it. I took part, but I never saw it coming.
Yeah.
I just never saw it. Darlene, does that resonate with you? And I don't know that it was for me, it wasn't a woman thing. It's just that, going in, being a soldier, I wanted to represent my country as a lawyer. And that's all that I saw. And so I never thought about war.
To me, it was more than representative. It was like an honor to me because I'm not from this country, and it was like a dream come true.
Okay.
Representing Latinas in the Army as a female.
Okay.
And besides that, I think that that also put my mind out of the street from the school that I was, that it was very hot. And I was like, okay, this is the only way to me to get out and do better than the streets. So it was a double for me. It took me out of the streets. And besides that, I did super great in there. I became a better person. It put me in a situation that I had to think about families in reality, that what they were going through, that I wasn't getting deployed. I was a delivery person in the Army, so I wasn't deploying at all. And seeing all these families without a parent, a mother or a father, it was really tough and hard. I was also helping in that, and somehow in the Army.
I think we all can agree. And now here's one thing I know that we all can agree on. The experience, right? The military made a difference on every last one of us. I wouldn't be the chick I am today were it not for the military.
I agree. Yeah.
I think it changes.
Yeah.
In many ways, because you were forced to grow up and do it fast, and you were given a tremendous amount of responsibility, and so internally, it changed you in your skills and the way you think, the way that you manage things. So you became a grown-up real fast.
Yeah.
And that's something that our young people today that don't have that experience, they can't relate to it.
Yeah.
Because when we were 19 or 20, we were handling a lot of responsibilities, and so it did change us.
We were in the military at 19 and 20. We were already carrying backpacks and rucksacks and training with weapons. So our kids today, it is very different.
And the other thing is that a lot of times, people concentrate in wars, but the military does a lot of help.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at all the missions that the military do all the way across the world. Whenever there is hurricanes, all kinds of environmental disasters.
Tsunamis, volcanoes.
You go in, you help, whether they're from this country, any other country. And I have experienced that, and you see, faces light up when you come in, and they have nothing, and they see you as a way to surviving. And that's also something that everybody here probably has experienced, how important that part of our mission is. So, and again, 20 years and love it. And every time I think about the day I got out, I always think about maybe I should have stayed a little longer. So I have no regrets whatsoever. I love it, and to this day, I love it.
We talked about, so I asked a question before we came on camera, about being a service disabled veteran. I am a service disabled veteran. I run a business. My firm gets, many credits in many ways because because of the service disabled veteran. And so I made a comment about, we're all service disabled veterans. We all get a check. So it's a joke, but it speaks to how our country. There are some instances where we've got a segment of the population where it seems like, our country has not been so kind to us, after service. And then there's a large segment of the population where our country has seemingly delivered when it comes to, our contribution after service. So as a service disabled vet, Ivan said it, and even, Darlene, I am dealing with health issues, right, that are as a result of my service, of being a soldier. And I have to be honest, there have been times where I've said I would do it differently because of the physical, just the physical limitations. And at 52, there are just certain things that I should be able to do and certain experiences that I should not have. But because of the service and because of, that giving, it's like, these are the consequences. And so I try to be real about it, right? So I'm grateful in the way that Ivan has said, in the way that you've said. But the reality is, from a physical standpoint, I've suffered.
There is no question about that, but I go beyond that, because I think that for those of us like myself, that I consider myself extremely blessed and lucky, once you get out of the military, one of the things that happened to us, and we almost feel like orphans, right? That's the feeling that you get. You become an orphan because you're no longer within that
family.
That regimental, that we go through.
Yeah.
Correct. And so one of the things that is very important is for us to stay connected and to help those that even with their experiences, they can contribute in so many ways to help a lot of our military that came back that they weren't so lucky and they're going to difficult times. And there is a special bond that you have because of the service and the time that we spend in the military together. And so our duty continues, to help our veterans. And that's something that all of us need to take that into consideration, because who else know how to assist the veterans better than the people who serve?
Yeah, than us. Yeah.
Guys that I came back, well, I say guys, I mean soldiers. They were both, of the 15, we're only down to 11. And that's our brotherhood. And we make it purposeful every year. Twice a year, we get back together, we link up, and we, as a family, and we're constantly texting, calling, messaging, sending funny things back and forth. We make it our own purpose to forcefully stay in contact, stay in communication. Are you okay? Are you all right? Do you need help? We've lost too many of, like I told you, we were an entire company. We're down to 11 of us.
Wow.
And
that's incredible.
Trying to keep it together.
Wow, Ivan, that's a story. Wow.
It's hard.
It is.
Because you end up like was said, you feel abandoned and you feel like, now what?
Yeah.
I did all this. I put myself through all this. I went through all this pain. I went through all these deployments. I went through all this. Now what? And I just go home and sit down and wait for what? What am I waiting for? What's my next task? What's my next mission? What's my next objective? And the only thing left is to breathe, keep your head up, and move forward.
Take care of your own.
Exactly.
I could not have said it any better. Wow, this has been awesome. This is just, you know what? This is just what the doctor ordered. And what I mean by that, like we were just talking about, coming together, taking care of your own. I think this podcast today does that for me, with bringing us together, with bringing you all to the table today, right? And like I feel like I'm sitting in the room, with my family. You all know my every experience, everything that I'm talking about when it comes to the military. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and vice versa. And vice versa. So this is awesome as compared to, say if we had a civilian sitting here, right? It'd be a little different. They'd say something, and we might be like, "Well, what are you talking about?" Well, no, that's not an EJ. We'd probably beat up. We'd probably beat up on a non-civilian. So it's good that we had family here at the table. I'm joking. We wouldn't beat up, but it's just like what you're saying, Ivan. Just even having us here today feels good. It feels right. We're talking. We get it. Kindred spirits, so to say.
Ivan said something that is really important. Is that you leave the military and our mission change. And your mission is to look after your men and your comrades. And that's exactly what we need to remember, that just because we're no longer in uniform, that doesn't mean that we're out of it, and that responsibility continues, because we need to help those who have, even though with all the difficulties, especially both of you have dealt with it, and also Mia, still there's so many out there that have gone through and they're not well. Then we need to help them. And I think I dedicated, and in fact we've had a huge activity for tomorrow. Unfortunately, we have to cancel it, or actually didn't cancel, reschedule for next Thursday. And Darlene and Ivan, I want to make sure that you guys come in. We had the special guest that we're going to have, hopefully she'll make it next week, is the widow of Muhammad Ali. Was supposed to be here for you guys, and so hopefully we can lock her up for next Friday, and she'll be coming along, and we have a lot of dignitaries who's going to be here, and we're pushing it to have it next Friday. Unfortunately, because of the storm, a lot of people were coming from the north end of the state, and they're locked down. So we decided to delay it for a week, but I want to make sure both of you come in and participate and enjoy it.
And listen, Veterans Day, I've said this, Veterans Day is all month. Veterans Day is not, for me, it's not just
Veterans Day is every day.
Every day. But yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, not just that it's November 11th. We are going to recognize and celebrate veterans, right, every day. But Veterans Day, certainly for these purposes, is all month. And let's not forget, to go and get all these discounts they have for us, and so we're gonna close out. We're gonna close out on a very positive note.
Eat for free tomorrow.
We're gonna close out on a very positive note, and so I want to share with us, if you haven't already, make sure that you get your V on your driver's license. Make sure that you get your veteran V on your driver's license. Just get your DD-214, and for our viewers that are listening that may be veterans, if you want to get, start taking advantage of all this free stuff, and it's not free. Let me reword that. Complimentary, services and products that folk that are really excited about our contribution. So the driver's license, when we go back and get them renewed, or you can do it outside of that, they will put the V for veterans on our driver's license. And so I went and got tires not too long ago. I asked them, do you have discounts do you have service disabled veteran discount? They say, yes, we can take 20% off. I go, everywhere I go, I am now asking for a service disabled veteran discount. Now, I don't know if it makes a difference between service disabled and veteran. I'm not saying veteran. I said service disabled veteran. I want my discount. So I'm not saying veteran. I said service disabled veteran. Yeah. So listen, let's start taking advantage of that, guys. Let's start asking the hotels, the restaurants. If you go to Lowe's, if you go to Home Depot, I'm starting to ask everybody.
I don't ask anymore. You do it online. You register yourself and you get your online discount every time you go.
Well, see, now you
need to get with the technology.
You got to tell me about that. You got to tell me about. But I went to Tire Kingdom and got tires. Yeah. And I said to them, I said, guys, listen, I need a, I always throw those hands up, right? That's my thing, right? I said, hey, I need a service disabled veteran discount. And I don't ask. I tell them, I was like, hey, I need a service disabled veteran discount. They's like, okay, we can give you 20%. That's what I'm talking about. So closing out on a good note, giving some information. And Juan, you've got to educate us on how to do this whole online discount thing. I don't know about
No, what happened is you go to the website for the different companies like Home Depot, any of those, and if you're military, you register for their benefits, and when you go in, they give you a code, and you automatically put your code, and you get your discount.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's a really good one. Then VetTix.
Yeah.
Who, Ivan?
VetTix, and then ID.me, they're really good.
VetTix?
VetTix is always donating tickets to veterans.
Really? So is that VETTIX or something, Ivan?
VetTix, yeah. I'm taking the kids tonight to the Heat game. Oh. They're having veterans come out.
Oh, so now you all know also the Marlins. I think the Heat, I'm not for sure, but the Marlins, they allow us to go to games for free. I think on Mondays, something like that. Yeah, so we've got to stay in communication, if for nothing else, so that we can share the free stuff. Because veterans love free stuff. I'm sure that's true. Darlene, you got anything? Anybody doing something for free for us? You want to add?
Oh, I just want to show you my license. It says veteran already.
That's right, girl. Yeah, absolutely. And
that's
so
for the 100. That's if you're 100, it says veteran with a little star on next to it.
Really?
And
awesome.
they'll recognize your percentage already.
Oh, I didn't know. Wait a minute. Tell me that again, Darlene. I didn't know that. So say that again.
Yeah, you go to the DMV and you take your DD-214 with the letter that it says your percentage of disability.
Letter of eligibility.
So in your license,
disability.
They will put veterans, and it depends on the star that is next to it. It's the percentage that you have. So that's the percentage.
I didn't know that.
You probably get out there.
Also,
less than 80.
Certainly.
Less than 80, you might think they get 10% in some of the stuff, but if you have 100%, a lot of stuff are free.
Really,
Very
Darlene?
good.
Oh my God, that's awesome! I didn't know that. But definitely, Ivan just mentioned. I think Homestead is where you were going. Was that it, Ivan?
Yeah,
The Homestead exemption?
If you are 90 and below, you get 5,000. If you're 100 total disabled, your property tax is no longer
applicable.
needed.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so we're closing out now. This is the good stuff. This is actually the best part of the podcast, I think. But I want to say thank you to our veterans that are sitting here today. I gotta say it, even though it's cliche-ish as it sounds, I've gotta say it. Thank you for your service, right? Juan, you did a good job. You said, although, it's Army and Air Force and Marines at the table, we got the Coast Guard, we've got the Navy, we've got, our other brothers and sisters. And so we are sending a shout out to everybody that has served, right? And those that are still with us and those that are not with us. We are sending a shout out to every one of us that has served. And so
the only thing I would add to that,
yes, Ivan,
is all the dependents and spouses.
You know what?
Let's not forget that.
Thank you so much.
It wouldn't happen without them. It couldn't happen without them.
I stand corrected. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Ivan. That I stand
My wife
so
would
corrected.
kill me if I didn't say it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did. And so I've got to I'm going to apologize. I'm definitely making a very public apology that I did not, because certainly were it not for our families, although I didn't have kids then, I still needed the letters from my brother, my sister, my mother. I still needed the letters. My husband needed the letters from his father, his sister. So were it not even for the letters, it would have been difficult. I had a picture of my cousin, my baby cousin, brand new. And when I wanted to cry and just, fall out and the bombs bursting were too much, I would look at her picture and that helped. So were it not for the families, Ivan, you said it, we could not have done it. We could not have done it.
Very good.
And so on that note, we are going to wrap up again. Thank you all, Ivan, Darlene, Army, my Army brother and sister. That's right. Mr. Simplified, the Marine here, and Mr. Air Force laid back. I'm being facetious, but my brothers in service, the Marine, the Air Force, we love all services. We love all services. We kid with each other. We talk so much junk, but we know that,
at the end of the day,
we love each other. We pull each other in, we invite each other. And so let's just continue to do that. Veterans Day is every day, right? Veterans Day is every day. And so thank you all, our viewing audience, our listening audience. We love you too. And we thank you, as Ivan has said, for allowing us to serve, right? Allowing us to be a part of history, allowing us to make a contribution to our country when it was needed and when it was necessary. And so on that note, we're going to close out. Thank you again for chiming in. We look forward to having you tune in with us on our next broadcast. And hope that you stayed safe through the storm. Again, thank you, and we'll see you on our next podcast.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.